What's up, guys? Hany Rambod here, 25-time Olympia winning coach, and welcome back to Rate Your Physique. We have none other than the man himself, Mr. CBUM, on deck. Chris and I saw each other at the Arnold Classic. We had breakfast together, and I told him that he was one of the highest requested athletes for me to do a Rate Your Physique. And again, reading the comments below, he said, cool, do it. And I said, which version of CBUM would you like me to rate, Chris? And he said, let's do Prague. So again, it was awesome because we got to have breakfast. We talked a little bit about it. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to do CBUM's Prague physique, what he was able to bring to his only and possibly only ever open show that he actually competed in. That was just about a month after the Olympia, after winning his 6th men's classic physique title. And he always told me, I would love to do an open show. But he didn't want to prep for it by itself. He would definitely wanted to do something he was going to add on to an already existing prep. So knowing that that was going to be his last Olympia, he gave me a call and said, I want to do Prague. And I said, you sure? And he said, absolutely. I want to go out with a bang. I want to go out on stage as an open competitor. And I said, okay, let's do it. And we're going to go ahead and break down that physique. Little behind the scenes information. Obviously, he was heavier than he was at the Olympia. We went in with a fuller look. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more of the backstory versus when I've done these Rate Your Physiques in the past, where the other athletes I did not work with. You have you have Wesley, you have a lot of the other guys that I did this Rate Your Physique with. With Chris, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the backstory. With this particular look, we were about 252 pounds, which puts him about 12 pounds over his weight cap, about 10 pounds over his weight cap. I'm sorry. I believe he's around 242 is the new weight cap for the last couple of years. So he was about 10 pounds heavier. So we went with a full 3D look so that he can be able to match up better against the open guys. So much of his muscle was just more muscle fullness, because you can't build a lot of muscle in a month. You're going to just be able to basically try to fill out the frame the best you can. And that's what you're trying to do on a 6'1+ frame with Chris. So what we did was we tried to maintain as much muscle as possible going into the show. We set up camp in Prague. And when we got there, kept feeding him into the show. And again, about 252 pounds on stage, brought him in with a lot fuller look. A lot of people were very, very impressed by it. I really like the look, especially knowing that he didn't do an open prep. And when I say open prep, you'd normally go a lot bigger and then come down to 250, 255, maybe even 260 on stage after a full year. He didn't have that luxury. He just went straight from the Olympia and then a month later getting on that Prague stage. So where I'm going to go ahead is I'm going to start off with the side chest. This is one of his knockout shots. And not only in classic, but even in open, I feel like it's very impressive. So let's go over here and look at all the amazing, great attributes. Again, shoulder width. He has all that shoulder width in here, all the way to here. And he's showing it off very, very well. It's really, really nice because his chest is super, super full. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that chest. You see those chest striations and you see that 3D look? Well, that's what an extra 10 pounds can get you, is even more of that fullness. And then you also have that depth in the chest here. So you're starting to see a much more filled out frame on Chris, because he's got such a big frame of being over 6 feet, 6'1". It's just about 6'1 1/4", 6'1 1/2". But if he was ultimately getting ready for an open show and he took a full year, I could see him on stage closer to 255 to 258 with even better conditioning. But again, for all intents and purposes, we're looking at this physique that he had on stage in Prague. Now going down to the arms, arm fullness here, that looks great. Triceps, biceps are popping. Even his forearms are super full. That's why he's got that fullness in that forearm. And as you go down to the lower body, great depth through the quads, great conditioning. But again, Glutes were full, hamstrings were dropping. Everything was really tight all the way into the calves. And I always like to tease him about his calves. But that quad development and that side chest makes everything look so complete. So as I go back and I start to clean up that photo and you start seeing everything, it starts to look really, really pretty. And everything looked really symmetrical. So again, felt that this is one of his knockout shots. He looked really good in this side chest. All right, guys, before we go on to the next pose, I do want to let you know my coaching system, the Truth System, is now live. So if you're interested in getting coached by myself and my team, then you can go to hanyrambod.com and be able to sign up. It's an application process. You're not guaranteed to be accepted, but if you are interested in applying to be a part of the Truth System, which is my coaching platform, then you can go ahead and go to hanyrambod.com and apply there. So let's go on to the next pose. Now, moving into the next pose, we have the pose that is not a mandatory in classic physique. It's the front lat spread. And this is another money shot for Chris. You see that giant smile? He's cheesing, man. Look at that. Look at that giant smile. You got to give that like amazing like smile, because he normally just has a little bit of that smirk. Here he's smiling because he gets to actually show in the mandatory poses that front lat spread. So what does he have positive going on here? He's got the striations through the chest, but he also has that fullness. He's got that shoulder fullness. He's got that shoulder just popping, that width in the shoulders. His arms are nice and full. He has nice quad sweep. That quad sweep all the way through is nice and round. Waist is still tight, really popping through the lats. Again, really showing that 3D physique. So he gets to be able to really show the statuesque version of a classic physique bodybuilder, but also showing the fullness and the size of an open bodybuilder. And again, not to be able to put too much emphasis on this, but this was only a month after the men's Olympia Classic Championship. So again, after he won his 6th title, a month later, being able to accentuate what he has. And I feel like fullness in the chest, shoulders, arm fullness, quad fullness, all of those things were really, really popping. So the nice thing about this is it really even accentuated what he already had when it comes to this great silhouette. All right, now let's go ahead and go on to the back double bicep. And this is one of those areas where I feel like he can be able to improve the most. But let's talk about the great things. Great hamstring, and as well as that outer quad. Calves are also popping. Arms look much more improved there. Shoulders look great. You have the shoulder width here that looks awesome. Where I would like to see that added fullness is going to be all in those lats. Again, on that front lat spread, looks great, but on the back double bicep, bringing in more depth through there. And then again, a little bit more conditioning. I could see that being tighter. When we were going for our look, we were trying to actually be okay with giving up a little bit of that conditioning that he had at the Olympia for the added fullness, because he was going to be standing next to Martin and all the open guys. So therefore, there was a little bit of that give and take, but I feel like that back could have used a little bit more muscle if there was a future in open. That's where I would see the most amount of improvements that are going to be needed is going to be through that back. But again, everything looked really good. Glutes were in, could have been a little bit tighter through the glutes. So that's why I give it a little bit of a red mark. But ultimately, with the amount of more fullness where he could be able to stand next to open guys, and we're not talking about just basic open guys, we're talking about really good open guys, I feel like that he had a great look. Now, if he came back, that's where he would need to be able to do the rows, being able to do one-arm dumbbell rows, bent over rows, reverse grip, bent over rows, all of those rowing exercises that are going to allow him to build even more back thickness while continuously making sure that he continues to have that awesome V taper. But great look. but still could always improve. Going in to an ab thigh, but he's throwing in his signature vacuum. All right. So we're going into this amazing quad sweep. This is looking outstanding. That, again, his legs have never been that full because being 10 pounds heavier than his stage weight at the Olympia, looked absolutely awesome. I feel like his legs look great, but continuing that down the road, we'll talk about the improvements, but that looked awesome. Waist, you have that great V taper in here. That looked fantastic. My amazing art skills. That looked awesome. Fullness. Look at the fullness through the arms, right? You see his biceps, his triceps, everything was separated just because of how full he was, even through the chest area, how full he was. His back, how full it was. Again, his back even looks really, really good from the front. It's just where the back, on that back double bicep, rear lat spread, he could have been a bit thicker, but I want to really make sure that I'm giving an as unbiased as possible opinion on every person that I am going to rate their physique. But looking at this, I like the fact that I see so much fullness, and I got still that silhouette that gives it that really CBUM signature V taper. Looks awesome. Now, where could he improve? Obviously, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the red portion, and that is going to be continuously building up his legs. So his legs could be just even bigger going against the open guys. If he was coming back, being able to fill those out. We talked about that. Squats, hack squats, being able to do those exercises are going to go much, much further if you're able to put on the extra weight without having to worry about making weight. Continuously building up the back, especially his lower lat area in there. And I feel like, again, we gave up a little bit of conditioning there so that we can go for that extra muscle fullness so he can go head to head with the open guys. But again, just making sure that we're going through and saying what is going to be more impressive. Coming in a bit tighter and lighter, where he's going to give up a little bit more of that fullness, or the added fullness, but giving up an extra 10 to 20%, 10 to 15% of that conditioning. And we went the other way, and I think we made the right decision because I felt like it was a very, very impressive physique, especially with the full 10 pounds. But God, man, going back to that chest is popping, lats are just super flaring, arm fullness, everything looked awesome. But again, I'm still going to be critical because that's just me. All right, guys, just a reminder, if you're looking for my workouts, my FST7 app is only $1. That's right, $1 for the first month to get complete and exclusive access to all my FST7 workouts that I've pre-built and put in depending on what your goals are. So if you're looking for any of my workouts, you go to the FST7 app at hanyrambod.com, go ahead and download, and you can use code HANYYT. That's right, HANYYT, to get you for only $1 in the entire access to the whole app. So check it out if you're interested in any of my FST7 workouts. All my exclusive content is on there as well. So check it out at hanyrambod.com. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the next pose, the 3/4 twisted back double. This is that signature Arnold pose. I'm throwing this in because of how not only elegant of a pose that it is, but also just how Chris pulls this thing off. He's got such an amount of width there. Look at how much back thickness he's showing off. He's showing off the glutes. He's showing off the quad sweep. His hamstrings are popping. I mean, we really have got this beautiful physique that I'm going to go ahead and take back there, and really accentuating with good arms, even the striations that are coming in on those triceps. They're just really, really striated there. Just, again, conditioning balanced out with fullness there. Looks awesome. Really a beautiful shot. I just wanted to throw this in there because I felt like he's done this shot before, but not with this much size. So I do want to be able to say Again, do I think that there's anything wrong with this shot? No. Again, can you always be just a little bit tighter? Yes, you can just be a little bit tighter through the glutes if you really, really want to be able to etch them out just a little further. But overall, great 3/4 twisting on Chris. All right, now we went to the front shot, and this is going to be a single arm classic version of a front double biceps. Let's go ahead and we're going to start off with the quads. Once again, that quad sweep, that quad separation is really, really pushing 3D. You got that look where the muscle feels like it's just looks stapled right onto the top of the quad. That's what you want. Then you have that small waist. Again, the silhouette. That's what one of his superpowers are, is that silhouette. From the front, lat is hanging, which is awesome. And even though he doesn't have the best arms in the bodybuilding world, it is nice and full, the triceps, and you can see the graininess of the biceps. And again, filled out chest. Everything looks really, really nice. You got the signature smirk. Don't forget that, because that's a very CBUM, classic smirk. And even his, calves, which I always give him a hard time about, they're full. So I like that. So all of the different things that he had going on for him on this one, this was a really cool pose because he's adding in a combination of classic as well as open. So you get a little bit of both worlds here. You have great quad sweep, fullness. You have the nice taper, but you also have a great amount of that upper body fullness and that width. And when you add that to the height, that's why a lot of people thought he won that show, because as you look at it as an overall bodybuilder, the silhouette is something that can't be taken away from. So again, he did an amazing job. Ultimately, I think it was a great look. I think we were able to bring in a great combination of size, fullness, symmetry, conditioning. Where we gave up a little bit of conditioning, we ended up making it up with a lot of fullness to fill in his frame. I think he put in all of the work that he needed to, and then some. And he also had fun. That whole week, if you hadn't been able to check out his page, if you go look at the week at Prague, it was a really good time, even though it's still stressful for me because it always is. But it was a really good time. It was like being in a frat house with everybody. And then even Ian was there. His sister was there to support. Everybody else was there. We missed the hell out of Courtney and the baby, and he FaceTimed them. But it's one of those things that with all of the film crew and everybody that's there and the guys that are shooting his doc, they were there. So it was just awesome because it just felt like it was a great way to close out not just a season, but to close out a career. Again, I asked him at the Arnold, would he have come back if he would have won that show? He still says no. I do believe there was a 2% chance that if he would have won, that he would have done at least one more getting back on that stage as an open Olympia competitor. But let me know what you guys think. Go into the comments below. Tell me if you think that if CBUM would have won this show, would he have called and said, one more last ride? All right, last but not least, I know you guys are all waiting for this. Where do I rate his physique? Again, when I'm rating their physiques and I'm giving people the number that I believe out of 10, I am giving it to them in their class and in their particular circumstance as well. So this is going to be a rating for open, not classic. And this isn't just on Chris in general. This is just in that physique and what he was able to bring. So on a scale from 1 to 10, Olympia, 10 being the absolute pinnacle, I would rate that physique a 9.1. That's right. Still room for improvement for sure. But I thought it was phenomenal for an open physique. And I think it could go up if he ended up putting on more size and actually put time and effort into it. And I personally do think that he was ahead of Martin, even though the scorecard didn't show that. But that's my personal opinion. But I do have him at 9.1. Let me know what you think about that as well. And I appreciate you all. Love and God bless Hany Rambod, and rate your physique.